Okay, I found out that you could connect a device, a USB host, onto the Vive trackers, and it would turn them into a full controller that provides the extra buttons input, and with this thing doing the positioning. And there's a USB host library for the Arduino Dew, which supports Vive trackers and allows you to create those extra buttons from your I/O. But I can't work out how you would read the values from those buttons and to use them in your own application. So I've stopped looking at that for now, and I started to try and make an OSC application to control the avatar or things in VRChat. And after spending about an hour looking at the various documents and things, so on the VRChat help pages, they tell you what is OSC, Open Sound Control, a protocol used for automating sound equipment as far as I can tell. But they've implemented it in VRChat as a way for you to externally control and influence the world and avatars and read information back. And it uses UDP communication, sending into VRChat on port 9000 and then receiving out on 9001. And they give you information on how to access the avatar parameters and using it as an input controller to do various things. And I discovered, well, I looked and found there's a library for OSC in LabVIEW, so I created the small program to try it out. So the library brings these functions which create the packets of data and what things to listen to and filtering them, and then I've put in some UDP connections, sending and receiving, and it seems to work, which is a bit surprising because I didn't think it would be that easy. So I've got this program now, and you can use that to look around. Strangely, you can't look up and down, it only can do turning side to side. I was hoping there'd be something to allow you to look at, to move your hands, but you can't. And you can control avatar parameters, like tongue. This one here is very stripped down, it doesn't have any other things in it, so we can't use these others. Choose another avatar that supports more of those parameters that I've implemented, and you'll see when you click change avatar, a message is sent because we're listening to the avatar change message, and that gets received and it returns the ID of the avatar, and you can search that for a JSON file in your user directory, and then that inside that file, which I've got displayed on the screen, I don't do anything with it, but you can parse that file to determine all of the parameters that are implemented in that avatar. So there's one called glasses, so we can try that. Glasses, pants, poncho, tongue. So just like that, you can control your things. Any parameters, you can add custom parameters to your avatar that do various things, and then you can access them by their parameter name from your external application, which means you can then create your own sensors and buttons and things, connect them to a microcontroller and have that connected to your computer, and then make some software similar to this that reads those sensors and then uses it to control features on your avatar, like movements of things or changing the clothes easily without having to go into the menu. To get the bi-directional stuff working, I've created the other direction, so when you change these, it turns the tick box on and off. So when that change event of turning the clothes on and off occurs in the game, it sends the message out and that gets picked up. One thing that was a bit disappointing is it doesn't tell you the status of all of those things when you load the avatar, which is a bit sad. So it means those tick boxes there can be out of sync when you change it. But generally you won't be changing the avatar a lot because you will pick your one, which is set up how you like it, and then they will stay like that. This one here is the only one I've found which has eye tracking in it. So you can do eye closed, and you can do eye movement as well, but those are a bit more complicated and require various coordinates and things, so I haven't played around with that. And if you've got eye tracking active, it will stay active until its OSC messages stop for about 10 seconds. So if we leave that for a bit, for 10 seconds, then the eyes will just go back to the default auto looking at who's speaking to you and random blinking like that. And this has a boop, so I guess that's if someone touches your nose, which is interesting because it's not just shown in the menu anywhere, but I guess it's triggered by nose touching. If you just leave that set, then it repeats. And this guy has other clothes like hoodie. You can have poncho as well, I think. Yes, or hoodie, but not really both. No glasses. No tongue on that one. So it's up to what people have implemented, but they might have called it something else, because I noticed some of them call it, instead of calling it pants, they call it pants disabled. So it's doing the same thing, but they've named the parameter something else, so you'd have to update your software. If you wanted to, yeah, you could parse that thing and work it all out and then update the commands, but really you would just program it to your specific things. So I thought that was good because it's very easy to implement. All you have to do here, I've got an event structure, so each time one of these controls is pressed, it will trigger the event for the relevant button, and then under each one, all it's doing is taking the value from that button, whether you made it true or false, creating a packet of OSC data from that, and then sending it to that parameter name, and then, well, creating the message to that parameter name, and then the UDP send block to send it. And that's it. And for reading back the settings, I have, what do they call it? Create address space. So you register all these addresses that you're interested in, and then that creates this data structure with all the things you're interested in. And then when you receive UDP data, that gets sent into this thing called dispatch all messages. So that will decode the packet of data that arrived, work out whether it matches any of the things you want to listen to, and then that creates an array of received stuff, which you can then pick off here with a for loop, and you can find the address. So you just create a case structure with the different addresses of things that you're interested in listening to, and then you can convert that message into data depending on the data type you expect to receive. It was a bit strange that the glasses on that other one, they've made it a numeric that's either 0 or 1. So instead of a boolean, maybe it means you can put other numbers in there to change to other features. I'm not sure, but yeah, it depends how it's been set up in the avatar, whether it's a string, a boolean, or an integer, float, whatever. And this one here on avatar change, it returns the avatar ID as we saw on the screen there, and then I've looked that up in the directory on the computer and loaded the text file. Easy as that to make your own OSC client server application, and then if you're clever you can create custom things in your avatar and control them with your own sensors. So I might look at getting ear movement, and if I can work out a way to sense my ears moving and then have that linked to my avatar ears. I think that would be good. But if you know how, when you use this thing, the Vive trackers as a controller, how do you access that data on your computer that's coming from the controller? Presumably you'd have to do something with Steam input. I don't know. I might give up on that. It seemed like such a good idea because that would wirelessly transfer your button inputs. You get the X and Y joystick analog positions, the trigger analog, trigger digital, and the grab and menu buttons. Pretty much everything that you get on a regular Vive controller you can get from this, but then I don't know what you do at the other end once it reaches the computer, because I don't want to set up it as a controller because I have 2 controllers already, but I still want to access this as just a generic input device, but I'm not sure if that's possible. Google didn't seem to be very helpful on that either.